to Daily Power Parsha. This is our Daily Power Parsha for January 15th, 2021. This is going to be a Parsha on one foot. I'm kidding, not on one foot because I think we're all sitting down, but the whole Parsha in one session. We have never done this before, but I'm feeling brave and bold, and I think we can do it. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a moment, and we are going to jump straight into the fray. All right, here we go. Buckle up. This is going to get fun very quickly. Va'era. All right, let's see. Here we go. Exodus chapter 6, verse 2. That's how the parsha begins. We would have done this Monday, but it is Friday now, and we're going to cover everything today, hopefully. Remember, we left off last week's Torah portion with Moses having gone to Pharaoh with the message, let my people go. Pharaoh saying, no, not happening. I don't know who God is that is asking this or demanding this. I don't know who you think you are, and I'm certainly not going to let the Jewish people go. In fact, if they have all this free time on their hands to start dreaming of freedom, well, let's make it harder for them, to suffocate them, God forbid, even more, take away the raw materials that they're using to create the bricks, to create the buildings. They're going to have to get it on their own, and we're going to still hold them accountable to the same quotas that they had to supply beforehand. This became even more backbreaking for the Jewish people, upon which they complained to Moses, and Moses turns the complaint straight to God. You would think Moses, a believer, he would say, no, you have to believe in God. God has a plan. No, Moses goes to God and says, God, what are you doing? The moment you sent me, it's gotten worse. By the way, all the greats have this type of rapport, relationship with God. Abraham says to God, will the righteous, will the judge, the judge of the whole world not act justly? Moses says, the moment you sent me, it's gotten worse. What are you doing? Why are you harming your people? And of course, Moses later on with the golden calf defends the Jewish people again, to God. This is something that we find the greatest leaders, the greatest believers are the ones who aren't afraid to have open and honest conversations with Hashem, with God. And the truth is, the more it's real, the more it's an honest dialogue. The more it's theoretical, then who are you talking to if it's theoretical, right? If you not you, but if one theoretically believes in God, well, then theoretically, there's no point to have a conversation, right? It's no good, it's no good. What are you going to do? But if you're in a real relationship and then something goes sideways, what's going on? It's genuine. This is what's going on here. So here's God's response. God spoke to Moses, and he said to him, I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob with the name Almighty God, but with my name, I'm not going to pronounce it, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Havaya, the four-letter name of God, the tetragrammaton, I did not become known to them. What he's saying is that you're about to witness a revelation, an opening up of a dimension of my reality that even the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, were not privy to. And in order to get to that place, I'm not justifying it, but I'm filling in the information here. So it requires some pain. It requires, to get to a paradigm shift, oftentimes requires a loss of what you had and an upheaval on the status quo. And again, I'm not justifying it, but I'm just kind of contextualizing God's response to Moses. But God is essentially saying, you know why it's been so difficult? Because there's about to be a breakthrough that's unprecedented. And also he says, I established my covenant with them, with the patriarchs, to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their sojournings in which they sojourn. And also I've heard the moans of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians are holding in bondage, and I remembered my covenant. Therefore, say to the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will take you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will save you your labor, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. In other words, I'm aware there's a plan, there's a breakthrough happening. It's requiring this period, this darkness before the light, these labor pains, if you will, before birth. This is what the moment demands, and this is what's happening. But there's about to be a breakthrough and the fulfillment of my promise. By the way, in this verse, verse 6, we have the source of the 4 cups of wine on Passover, because there are 4 expressions of redemption. Look at this. God says, I will take you out. I will save you. I will redeem you. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 3. And I will take you, verse 7, to me as a people. That's the 4th cup of wine. So there's 4 expressions of Gula, of redemption. God says, tell the people, I will take you out from under the burdens. I will save you with their labor. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm, and I will take you to me as a people. That's number 4. 4 cups, 4 expressions. And I will be let's continue verse 7. And I will be a God to you, and you will know that I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. So not only are you going to be redeemed, but you're going to know who did it, and it's me. And the 5th expression, I will bring you to the land. 5th expression, I will bring you to the land concerning which I raised my hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, and I will give it to you as a heritage. I am the Lord. So this is not an expression of Egyptian redemption as much as it is a larger redemption. I will bring you to the land. Yeah, after Egypt, I'll bring you to the land. So it's not one of the 4 languages of redemption. That's why there's only 4 cups of wine, but it is a 5th expression. Interestingly, we have a 5th cup. And what do we know that cup as? Unmute yourself, jump in. What is the 5th cup of wine on Passover at the Seder known as? It's usually a novelty cup. Elijah's cup, the Koshel Elio. And that corresponds to this 5th expression, I will bring you, V'havesi, I will bring you to the land, which also has somewhat of a messianic type, future redemption, almost evoking, I will bring you to the land. I mean, most immediately it was following the Exodus, 40 years later, go to the land of Israel, but it could also mean maybe in a bit of a larger context. Anyway, this is what God tells Moses, calm down. It's the darkness before the light. It's going to get better. I heard the cries. There's going to be a breakthrough, precedented breakthrough, fulfilling the promise. It's all going to happen. Take a look, though, what happens, text 9. This is a bit of a plot twist. Moses spoke thus to the children of Israel, but listen to this. They did not hearken to Moses because of their shortness of breath and because of their hard labor. This time, they didn't listen to Moses. Remember when he first went last week and he told the elders and he was afraid they wouldn't believe, but they're like, yeah, we're ready. But when he had gone to Pharaoh and then it got worse, at that point, that was another blow to their morale. And on a very literal sense, they didn't have time to believe because of their shortness of breath and their harsh labor. And what that means is they were literally working 24/7 nonstop, or whatever it was, whatever the hours were. And they didn't have, they just physically were unable to stop and believe and to feel it and that sort of thing. All right, so what happens next? The Lord spoke to Moses saying, come speak to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and he will let the children of Israel out of his land. Don't be despondent. Don't give up. There's been a slight setback, but it's not a setback. It's all part of the journey. But Moses spoke before the Lord, saying, behold, the children of Israel did not hearken to me. How then will Pharaoh hearken to me, seeing that I am of closed lips? So the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, and he commanded them concerning the children of Israel and concerning Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to let the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So again, God reiterates it. There's a bit of, another dialogue here, but God says, go. All right, let's continue. Exodus chapter 6, verse 14, second reading. The following are the heads of the fathers' houses. So if you notice, we're now pausing the narrative to give a little bit of a family tree situation. But yes, you'll see, it's not much of a family tree. We're tracing the tribes up until we trace the lineage of Moses and Aaron, and then it stops. We're just establishing where Moses and Aaron are coming from in the family tree. So in case you're wondering, well, who were Moses and Aaron? The Torah is anticipating that and giving us a little bit of info. So just so you know, they were both, the brothers are from the tribe of Levi. Levi, the third son born to Jacob. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Reuben, Simon, and Levi, I guess in English, we would pronounce like that. So Third son, so we don't have a lot to go through till we get to the lineage of Moses and Aaron. We're going to go first three, and then we're going to stop when we hit pay dirt, so to speak. The following are the heads of the fathers' households. The sons of Reuben, Israel's firstborn, Enoch, Palu, Chetzron, and Carmi. These are the families of Reuben. The sons of Simeon, Jemua, and Jamin, and Hoad, and Jachin, and Zohar, and Saul, the son of the Canaanites. These are the families of Simeon. All right, so far so good. Now Levi. These are the names of Levi's sons after their generations: Gershon, Kahat, and Merari. And the years of Levi's life were 137 years. The sons of Gershon. So again, Levi had three sons: Gershon, Kahat, and Merari. Now, what about Gershon? By the way, you'll remember these three names months ago, when we spoke about the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the different jobs that the Levite families had in carrying and transporting the tabernacle. If you recall, they were divided amongst these three families: Gershon, Kahat, Merari. Well, within each, there were other families, and here we go. The sons of Gershon were Livni, Shimi, to their families. The sons of Kahat, Amram, that's going to be a key word there, Amram. That's Moses' father. Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. And the sons of Kahat's life were 133 years. The sons of Merari were Machli and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites according to their generations. Now, Amram, okay, verse 20. Amram, this guy Amram, that's why we're tracing the lineage. We're literally tracing the lineage just to position where Moses and Aaron are coming from. So Amram was the son of Kahat, who was the son of Levi. So Amram took Yocheved, his aunt, as a wife. She bore him Aaron and Moses. And the years of Amram's life were 137 years. And the sons of Yitzhar were Korach Korach. We know that guy, right? The sons of, remember the rebellion guy? The sons of Yitzhar were Korach and Nepheg and Zichri. The sons of Uziel were Mishael, Eltzaphan, and Sithri. All right, Aaron took himself a wife, Elisheva, the daughter of Aminadav, the sister of Nachshon, and she bore Nadav and Avihu. She bore him Nadav and Avihu, Elazar, and Itamar. So we're now tracing the family of Aaron, Moses' brother. Four sons: Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, and Itamar. Nadav and Avihu were the two sons that died. Remember, we learned this. They died on the day of the inauguration of the Mishkan. Remember, they went in, they brought an offering, they brought the incense, and God, whatever it was, either they got too close or undesired. Either way, they lost their life. So these are Nadav and Avihu. Those are the two sons. And the remaining sons ultimately were Elazar and Itamar. The sons of Korach were Asir, Elkanah, Aviasaph. These are the families of the Korachites. Elazar, the son of Aaron, took himself one of the daughters of Putiel to himself as a wife, and she bore him Pinchas. Pinchas was the guy later on who would spear. Remember? He speared the two, the leader of the Jews and the leader of the Midianite princess who were sinning in the tent. Anyway, these are the heads of the fathers' houses of the Levites according to their families. All right, after all this family treeage, right, the Torah concludes, these are the aforementioned Aaron and Moses, to whom the Lord said, take the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt with their legions. In other words, Moses and Aaron, this is who they are. This is where they come from. This is their family. This is their lineage. They are the ones, Aaron and Moses, they are the ones who spoke to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to let the children of Israel out of Egypt. They are Moses and Aaron. Now, if you notice, it says in verse 26, they are Aaron and Moses. And then when it's summarized, it says Moses and Aaron. It reverses the order. So first Aaron and Moses, and then Moses and Aaron. And as Rashi points out, is trying to tell us that there's no specific order of greatness. They were both great, and they both respected each other, and they didn't mind letting the other one go first. So the first time the Torah does it, it's Aaron and Moses. The next time it's Moses and Aaron. And you know what? It's nice, because honestly, they don't do that in ice cream, right? No one does that in ice cream. No one ever said, oh, you know what? Go get some Jerry and Ben's. No one ever said Jerry and Ben's. It's Ben and Jerry's, and that's the way it is. And honestly, who was Ben and who is Jerry, and why did Ben go first? I don't know. But with the Torah, lahavdil, obviously with the Torah, it's first Aaron and Moses, and then Moses and Aaron. And the point is, they shared, they loved each other, they got along, which is very unique in siblings, right? Sibling rivalries is a major theme, especially when it comes to younger siblings being favored or called upon. Throughout Torah, we find this, at least the early parts of Torah. But with Aaron and Moses, it was different, and it was pleasant, and it was a machaya. It's beautiful. All right, let's continue. I hope that made sense. Now it came to pass on the day that the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, ... Cliffhanger, reading number 3. That's literally how the second reading ends. So what happened that when they spoke? Here we go. On that day that the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, I am the Lord, speak to Pharaoh everything that I speak to you. But Moses said, and this is just a repeat, just to get us after the family tree, just to get us back into the groove of the narrative. So God, on that day, God had spoke to Moses and Aaron, or Moses, and he said, speak to Pharaoh. And Moses said, but Moses said before the Lord, verse 30, behold, I am of closed lips, speech impediment, or not, or unsure what to say, whatever it is. How will Pharaoh hearken to me? We've gone through this Moses, attempt at saying, no, I can't do it a bunch of times. We're just reiterating it to get back into the narrative. All right, makes sense? Thumbs up if so far makes sense. Yeah? All right. So far we've covered God's assurance to Moses. It's going to get better. Moses relaying that to the people at this point saying, skeptical, didn't work out the first time, got worse, skeptical. God saying, don't worry, stay the course, it's going to work out. God telling Moses that. The Torah going through the family tree, establishing who Moses and Aaron are and their families, and then picking up the narrative again. Let's continue. Exodus chapter 7, verse number 1. The Lord said to Moses, see, I have made you a lord over Pharaoh. I love that. I've made you a lord over Pharaoh. It's all about mindset, right? It's like you're the boss. You just got to believe it. You're the Lord. You are a lord over Pharaoh. He doesn't know it yet, and you might not believe it yet, but I am making you a lord over Pharaoh. And Aaron, your brother, will be your speaker. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron, your brother, shall speak to Pharaoh that he let the children of Israel out of his land. But, and this is the second time, or maybe even the third time this is mentioned. We mentioned this last week. But God says, here's how it's going to work. I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and I will increase my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. The fact that he's going to refuse is going to allow me to increase my signs and wonders. That means plagues, right? Right. So if Pharaoh let them out the first time, and Pharaoh's like, oh yeah, sure, go, then no plagues, right? Or after the first plague, it would only been one plague. But the fact that God is going to help harden Pharaoh's heart, that's going to help also increase the signs and wonders. In other words, the miracles and the plagues. But Pharaoh, even after all that, will not hearken to you. He will not hearken to you, and I will lay my hand upon the Egyptians, and I will take my legions, the people, my army, the children of Israel out of Egypt with great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know, ultimately, that I am the Lord when I stretch forth my hand over Egypt, and I will take the children of Israel out of their midst. By the way, it's not only an education for the Egyptians, it was also an education for the Jews who at that point, we read, were a little bit disheartened about this whole situation. So it's going to be an education for the Egyptians to know who's boss. It's an education for the Jewish people. It's going to be a sign of great wonders and miracles that we'll still talk about to this very day and celebrate. And it's going to be a big deal. Moses, verse 6, Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded them, so they did. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. So that was it. Aaron was the older brother by 3 years. By the way, in the family, we didn't mention it before, Miriam, sister, she was the oldest. Miriam was 6, Aaron was 3 when Moses was born. So Aaron was 3 years older, and Miriam was 6 years older than Moses. So at this point, when the Exodus begins, well, when the plagues begin, which we're about to read in the next reading, so Moses is 80 years old, Aaron is 83. So far, so good. It feels like it's still preliminary. It's still like nothing's preliminary, but we're still like getting there. We're about to get there. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, this is Exodus chapter 7, verse 8. This is what God says. When Pharaoh speaks to you saying, provide a sign for yourselves. In other words, show me a sign. Why am I listening to you? You shall say to Aaron, take your staff and cast it before Pharaoh. It will become a serpent. We've seen this miracle before. God did it to Moses. God showed Moses the sign of the stick turning into a snake. And now God is telling Moses to do this to Pharaoh, turn the staff into a serpent. Thereupon Moses and Aaron came to Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord commanded. Aaron cast his staff before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Your typical staff serpent trick, available on eBay for $75. I'm kidding, right? This is what's going on. This is the miracle or the sign. Well, Pharaoh, I was joking about, right, eBay, but not really, because Pharaoh was like, dude, I could do this all day. Then Pharaoh too summoned the wise men and the magicians and the necromancers of Egypt, also did likewise with their magic. In other words, he said, you guys don't impress me. I can also have my guys turn staffs into snakes, serpents. It's not a big deal. Right? This is not high-level stuff. Any one of my guys can do this. Each of them cast down his staff, and they became serpents. So they did the same thing, right? Pharaoh says, my guys can do this, and it did. But take a look at the second half of verse 12. But Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. Now, listen to this. Double miracle, the commentaries point out. It didn't say that Aaron's serpent swallowed their serpent. Do you notice that? Right? They threw down the staffs. They became snakes. Now you have a bunch of snakes. So you would think that the verse means that Aaron's snake swallowed theirs. No, it says Aaron's staff swallowed theirs, which means that after they all transformed back into the staffs, then Aaron's staff as a staff somehow swallowed their staffs. Are you with me? This is what we call a double miracle, right? Number one, I don't know, double miracle or just a crazy miracle. I don't know. Either way, it's not just the snake, the staff turning into a snake and the snake swallowing the other snake. It's the staff turning into a snake, turning back into a staff, and then swallowing the other staffs. On whatever level that is, that's the next level of miracle. But Pharaoh's heart remained steadfast. Now, just to break this down, he wasn't impressed with the whole staff snake miracle or sign, because his people could also do that. But what didn't happen with his people is that their staff should swallow Aaron's staff. It worked. Aaron swallowed theirs. So that should have impressed him, but nah, his heart remained steadfast, and he did not listen to them, hearken to them as the Lord had spoken. By the way, at this point, God is not helping harden his heart. He's doing a fine job by himself. He's like, come on, this is no big deal. I'm not impressed. Go home. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is heavy. He has refused to let the people out. Go to Pharaoh in the morning. Behold, he is going forth to the water. By the way, why would he go forth to the water in the morning? He would go into the Nile River to go to the bathroom. He claimed that he was a god. This is well documented. The pharaohs claimed, and they were revered as gods, right? And as a god, he claimed he didn't need the bathroom, and he would never use the bathroom. What would he do? Well, in the morning, he would go for his morning dip in the Nile River. I'm not going to go any further than that, but just know that that's when he did what he needed to do. So God says to Moses, go confront him at the Nile River when there was still, listen, no one could see, but the point is, it's kind of like, Pharaoh, I'm on to you. Let's have a conversation here, right? Let's have a vulnerable conversation. Let's have an open conversation, man to man over there at the Nile River, if you know what I mean, right? So go to Pharaoh in the morning. Behold, he's going forth to the water, going forth literally to the water, and you shall stand opposite him on the bank of the Nile, right? Don't get too close, and the staff that was turned to a serpent, you shall take in your hand. So take the staff, go there when he's there, and you shall say to him, here's the line, the Lord God of the Hebrews sent me to you, saying, send forth my people so that they may serve me in the desert. But behold, until now, you have not hearkened. So said the Lord, with this you will know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the staff that is in my hand upon the water that is in the Nile, and it will turn to blood. This is a lot of fancy language to say that tell Pharaoh, you're going to turn the Nile River into blood, right? This is plague 1 about to happen. And by the way, when that happens, the fish that are in the Nile will die, and the Nile will become putrid, and the Egyptians will weary in their efforts to drink water from the Nile, right? They're going to have to buy Evian or whatever, etc. The Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch forth your hand over the waters of Egypt, over the rivers, over the canals, over their ponds, and over all their bodies of water, and they will become blood, not just the Nile, all the waters and tributaries, all the water pools of Egypt will become blood, and there will be blood throughout the entire land of Egypt, even in wood and in stone. And what I believe this means is even in vessels of wood and stone that have water in it, right? Pre-poured, but once that plague hits, all the Egyptian waters turn to blood. The only exception, by the way, was Jewish water. I'm just saying, this is what the commentaries say. And it's only if they bought water from the Hebrews that they were able to drink fresh water. Otherwise, it was all blood, even water that had already been drawn and poured in a cup, etc., or in a container, in a pitcher, all turned to blood. By the way, this was all part of a warning, right? Pharaoh could have at any time chosen, you know what? You guys can go now. This was all part of go to Pharaoh in the morning by the Nile, tell him, let my people go, or else this is what's going to happen. All right. So just to remind of context. Verse 20, Moses and Aaron did so. As the Lord had commanded, they gave the message wasn't heeded, etc. And what happened? And Aaron raised the staff and struck the water that was in the Nile before the eyes of Pharaoh and before the eyes of his servants, and all the water that was in the Nile turned to blood. And the fish that were in the Nile died, and the Nile became putrid. The Egyptians could not drink water from the Nile, and there was blood throughout the entire land of Egypt, not just the Nile, but also all of the waters. All right. So plague 1 just happened. Well, the necromancers of Egypt, the sorcerers, did likewise with their secret rites. And Pharaoh's heart was steadfast, and he did not heed them as the Lord had spoken. Somehow they also got a hold of some water, maybe some Jewish water, whatever it was. And they also were able to make milk or turn into blood or something like that. So Pharaoh said, nice trick, but no dice, no dice. Pharaoh turned and went home, and he paid no heed even to this. All the Egyptians dug around the Nile for water to drink, because they could not drink from the water of the Nile. 7 full days passed after the Lord had smitten the Nile. The Lord said to Moses, oh, wait, okay, fine. So that's the plague of blood. Now, I wanted to mention something very important. So Aaron is the one that strikes the Nile River. It's Moses' staff, that's the magic staff, so to speak, or the plague staff, right? But God tells Moses to tell Aaron that Aaron should strike the Nile River. And our saints tell us that this is a very important lesson. Moses, his life was saved by the Nile River, by the fact that he floated in the Nile River in the basket. He was rescued by Pharaoh's daughter, and that gave him his life. That saved his life. So it wouldn't be appropriate for Moses himself to strike the Nile and turn it to blood. So his brother did it. It's a little bit of a sensitivity. It's a little bit of a nuance. It's a powerful lesson. That is about being makar tov, hakaras tov, being acknowledging the good that another has done, and thankfulness and gratitude and appreciation. And so Moses, out of appreciation for the Nile, did not strike the Nile. So a little bit of an insight into that. Let's continue. Plague number 2. 7 full days passed after the Lord had smitten the Nile. The Lord said to Moses, here we go, verse 26. Come to Pharaoh, say to him, so said the Lord, let my people go that they may serve me. But if you refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all your borders with plague number 2. What is plague number 2 after blood? It is frogs. Frogs. What's going to happen? The Nile will swarm with frogs, and they'll go up and come into your house, into your bedroom, and upon your bed, into the house of your servants, into your people, by the way, means inside the kishkas and into your ovens and into your kneading troughs. It would go into the orifices. It's super gross. And into you, again, into you, and into your people, and to all your servants, the frogs will ascend. This was God telling Moses to tell this to Pharaoh. Basically, let my people go, or else frogs, baby. Exodus chapter 8, the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch forth your hand with staff over the rivers, over the canals, over the ponds, and bring up the frogs on the land of Egypt. Once again, it's Aaron who has to strike the water. Aaron strikes it instead of Moses, as I mentioned before. And what happens, as you'll see, is frogs come out of everywhere. And Aaron stretched forth his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt, covered with frogs. And the necromancers did likewise with their secret rites, and they brought up frogs in the land of Egypt. In other words, the sorcerers of Egypt were also able to somehow produce something that was like frogs. So, unconvinced, Pharaoh says, fail. The stamp, no good. I don't believe you. Or no big deal. My guy can do this also. Thereupon Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord, pray to God that he remove the frogs from me and from my people. And I will let out the people of Israel so that they may sacrifice to the Lord. This is the first time that Pharaoh promises he's going to break his promise. Spoiler alert. First time that he promises that he would let them out if they get rid of the frogs. In other words, his sorcerers were able to do it, wasn't impressed, but the frogs were really uncomfortable. So he really wanted them gone. So he said to Moses, look, go ask your God to get rid of the frogs, and I'll let your people go. And Moses said to Pharaoh, boast of your superiority over me. For when shall I entreat for you, for your servants, and for your people to destroy the frogs from you and from your houses, that they should remain only in the Nile? In other words, Moses says to Pharaoh, no problem. I'll let you call the time. Look at it. It's like a called shot. He says to Pharaoh, you want the frogs to end? No problem. You tell me when, on your terms, you tell me when, and I'll make sure it happens then. And Pharaoh said, tomorrow. And Moses said, tomorrow, in other words, at this time, tomorrow. And Moses says, as you say. In other words, it's going to happen tomorrow on the dot, right now. As you say, in order that you should know that there's none like the Lord our God. All right, so far, 2 plagues in. Let's continue. Reading number 5, Exodus chapter 8, verse number 7. Moses continues speaking to Pharaoh. And the frogs will depart from you and from your houses and from your servants and from your people. Only in the Nile will they remain. Yes. Of course. Okay. And Moses and Aaron went away from Pharaoh. And Moses cried out to the Lord concerning the frogs that he had brought upon Pharaoh. And so basically, Moses leaves, goes to God, says, God, I got a deal working with Pharaoh. He's going to let the people go. All you need to do is take away the frogs at such and such time. No big deal. Now, God's laughing, right? Because God's like, no, it's not going to end here. But Moses is like, well, he promised. So what could go wrong? You don't know Pharaoh yet is the truth. But nonetheless, and the Lord did according to Moses' word, and the frogs died from the houses, from the courtyards, and from the fields. They gathered the dead frogs into many heaps, and the land stank. Ay, Gaval, can you imagine like millions of rotting frogs? Super gross, right? Thank God we don't do this class during lunchtime. Whoops. When Pharaoh saw that there was relief, so Pharaoh saw that, by the way, this commentators explain, there was relief for him. Everyone else was dealing with smelly frogs, but for him, he had his people clear out the frogs, and he had access to perfumes. I go like, perfume. Remember those old perfumes that you would see in like the cartoons or whatever? It had like the little thing that you would squeeze, right? Was there ever perfume like that with a thing like a thing? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Either way, even if you don't, work with me. So Pharaoh had that in his palace. So for him, there was relief. This, our sages say, is the chutzpah of Pharaoh. He doesn't care about his people, right? His people are dealing with dead frogs everywhere. And in his royal palace, there's relief, so he's good. So the moment he's good, what does he do? He hardened his heart. And he did not listen to them as the Lord had spoken. By the way, if you think Pharaoh's a bad guy, I don't mean this offensively. It's about myself as well. This is about us, about human condition. You and I know this for a fact, that when things are difficult, we make all sorts of promises, we make all sorts of deals, We make all sorts of, negotiations, and we promise to be good and this and righteous and, holy. And then as soon as we have a little relief, as soon as things are better, I'll ask it as a question, do we remember with the same fervor our commitments? And if the answer is no, well, then we can understand Pharaoh from the inside out. Pharaoh, in a moment of crisis, says, I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of the frogs. Well, once the frogs are gone, guess what? Pharaoh says, I like my slaves. I like my work. I like my building. I like my power. Not going to happen. Not letting you go. All right. We're up to plague number 3. The Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch forth your staff and strike the dust of the earth. It shall become lice throughout the entire land of Egypt. Lice everywhere. By the way, Aaron does this one as well. Why? Because striking the earth would not be nice for Moses to do, because the earth also, like the Nile, the earth also saved Moses' life when he was able to bury the Egyptian that he struck. Remember, he struck the Egyptian and then buried him in the sand? Good. Or whatever, it is what it is. So God says to Moses, tell Aaron to do the hitting on the earth, because it wouldn't be right for you to hit the earth that helped you. And that should turn into lice. All right, they did so, and Aaron stretched forth his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, and the lice were upon man and upon beast. All the dust of the earth became lice throughout the entire land of Egypt. That's a lot of lice. And the necromancers did likewise with their secret rites to bring out the lice, but they could not replicate the lice with their magic, because they couldn't do magic on such a small scale. They could do larger scale magic with larger items on a macro level, but on a quantum level, on a very small level, anything smaller than, something, whatever, very small, they could not, their powers did not extend on that level. And the lice were once again upon man and beast. So the necromancer said to Pharaoh, it is the finger of God. In other words, this is not magic anymore. This is not a trick. This is not a game. This is legit. This must be divine. But Pharaoh's heart remained steadfast, and he did not hearken to them as the Lord had spoken. Let's continue. The Lord spoke to Moses. Arise early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Behold, he is going out to the water. Literally, right? Going out into the water. And you shall say to him, so said the Lord, let my people go out and serve me. If you do not let my people go, behold, I will incite against you and against your servants and against your people and in the houses and in your houses a mixture of noxious creatures. And the houses of Egypt will be filled with the mixture of noxious. How do you pronounce that? Noxious? Is that how we pronounce that? Yeah? All right. Creatures, as well as the land upon which they are. So this is Arav. Arav means a mixture of wild animals. And I will separate on that day the land of Goshen, upon which my people stand, that there will be no mixture of noxious creatures there, in order that you know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. In other words, what God is saying with plague number 4, that's what we're up to 4, is wild beasts, wild mixture of wild animals, is it's going to hit only the Egyptians, and the Jewish neighborhood is going to be spared. And this will be a sign that I'm in control, and I'm going to determine where it goes and where it does not go. I believe Wednesday night's Torah class was about the distinction of this 4th plague only hitting the Egyptians and not the Jewish people, and the ramifications of that with regard to the implication for the previous 3 plagues. All right, let's continue. And I will make, God says, a redemption between my people and your people. This sign will come about tomorrow. And the Lord did so, and a heavy mixture of noxious creatures came to Pharaoh's houses, and the servant's house, and throughout the entire land of Egypt. The land was destroyed because of the mixture of can't pronounce it, creatures. Doesn't matter, right? These wild animals, I'm just gonna call them wild animals because that's what we were told when we were kids, right? All right, wild animals, wild beasts, they are going to destroy and wreak havoc upon the land. Thereupon Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron, and he said, go, sacrifice the Lord to your God in the land. In other words, that's it. I'm giving you freedom to go worship God in the land. Look at that caveat, in the land, meaning in Egypt. I'm not letting you go out, but I'm giving you a holiday, no work, worship God day in Egypt. This is due to the fourth plague, right? So Pharaoh says, here's the deal. I don't like these wild animals. I'm getting scared. It's getting hectic. Land's being destroyed, from all overrun by beasts. So here's the deal. Worship God right here. But Moses said, no dice. It is improper to do that, for we will sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to God our Lord. In other words, there are certain animals that the Egyptians don't find it appropriate to sacrifice. We're going to sacrifice those animals. We don't want to do it right in front of the Egyptians. No. Will we sacrifice the deity of the Egyptians before their eyes, and they will not stone us? But they used to worship sheep and other animals. So what Moses says, look, we're going to go ahead and take these animals and worship them before the Egyptians. There's going to be reprisals. We're going to put ourselves, this is a bad idea, Pharaoh. Let's rather, verse 23, let us go for a 3-day journey in the desert and sacrifice the Lord our God, as he will say to us. In other words, let us go out for 3 days. We'll worship our God on his terms, no peer pressure from the Egyptians, and that's it. By the way, the implication is consistently that after those 3 days, they're going to come back. So that was the implication. That wasn't the reality. The reality is once they're gone, they're gone. But that will lay some groundwork to understand other narrative as they unfold. Again, clearly he's asking for a 3-day journey, which implies that they're going to come back. But that's the request. Pharaoh said, all right, deal. I will let you go out and you will sacrifice the Lord your God in the desert out of the cities, but do not go far away. In other words, go, but stay on a bit of a leash. And when you go, entreat God on my behalf. It's still about me, right? Pharaoh says, when you worship God, make sure you're mentioning me. Sure, right? That's first on the list, Pharaoh, your well-being. Moses said, behold, I am going away from you. And I will entreat the Lord, and the mixture of noxious creatures will depart from Pharaoh and from his servants, from his people tomorrow. Only let Pharaoh not tease anymore by not letting the people go to sacrifice the Lord. What does it mean by not teasing? In other words, don't tell us go and then change your mind the moment the plague stops. So Moses waited from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord did according to Moses' word. He removed the mixture of noxious creatures from Pharaoh, from his servants, from his people. Not one of these animals, wild animals, was left. But no surprise at this point, Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also, and he did not let the people go. He didn't keep his end of the bargain. You might wonder, as I am, why didn't Moses just say, I'll pray to God for the plague to be gone, but only once you let us go? I don't know, because that would have messed up the story. I don't know why he didn't do that deal. You understand my question? Why he goes to pray to God to get the plague removed, and then comes back to Pharaoh and says, okay, now I delivered on my end, the plague is gone. Now you deliver on your end and let us go. And then Pharaoh says, no, I changed my mind. Why didn't Moses just say, I'm not going to pray to God to remove the plague until you let us go for that 3-day journey? I don't know. Moses wasn't negotiating tough, or that wasn't the plan. The plan was to keep on piling up more plagues, plague upon plague, and still, and to show all these signs to Pharaoh. That's probably the reason. Exodus chapter 9, verse 1. Here we go. All right. The Lord said to Moses.
I'm sorry, I have to leave because of
no
work,
worries.
but so glad you're feeling better, and the family, and that you're back. And my daughter passed by and she was like, wait, like, is Pesach coming up? Because she heard you talk about all the plague. And, so
This
good
Pesach,
Shabbos.
my pleasure. Good Shabbos. Thanks for
Shabbos.
joining. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll see you
Bye,
soon.
everybody. Good Shabbos.
All right. We're going to continue for just a few more minutes. We're nearing the end. So if you can hang me for another few minutes, please do so. The Lord said to Moses, come to Pharaoh and speak to him. So said the Lord God of the Hebrews, send out my people so that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and you still hold on to them, behold, plague number 5, the hand of the Lord will be upon your livestock that is in the field, upon the horses, the donkeys, the camels, the cattle, the sheep, a very severe pestilence. So this is not wild animals, breaking through and wreaking havoc on the land. This is animals dying. And the Lord will make a separation once again between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt, and nothing of the children of Israel will die. The Lord set an appointed time, saying, tomorrow God will do this thing in the land. God did this thing on the morrow, and all the livestock of the Egyptians died, but of the livestock of the children of Israel, not one died. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, not even one of the livestock of Israel died, but Pharaoh's heart became hardened, and he did not let the people out. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, number 6, take yourselves handfuls of furnace soot, and Moses shall cast it heavenward before Pharaoh's eyes. Take a handful, throw it up, and it will become dust upon the entire land of Egypt, and it will become boils. So soot will turn to dust, will turn to boils on the skin, breaking out into blisters upon man and upon beast throughout the entire land of Egypt. So they took furnace soot, and they stood before Pharaoh, and Moses cast it heavenward, and it became boils, breaking out into blisters upon man and upon beast. And the necromancers could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils were upon the necromancers and upon all Egypt. But the Lord strengthened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not hearken to them as the Lord spoke to Moses. Next plague. The Lord said to Moses, rise early in the morning and stand erect before Pharaoh and say to him, so said the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go so that they may worship me. Because this time I am sending all my plagues into your heart and into your servants and into your people, in order that you know that there is none like me in the entire earth. For if now I have stretched forth my hand and I had smitten you and your people with pestilence, you would have been annihilated for earth. But for this reason, I've allowed you to stand in order to show you my strength and in order to declare my name all over the earth. In other words, I've kept you around to show you more plagues, including plague number 7. If you still tread on my people, not letting them out, behold, I am going to rain down at this time tomorrow, a very heavy hail. This is plague number 7, the plague of Barad, hail, the likes of which has never been in Egypt from the day of being found until now. This, by the way, was hail with fire inside of it. And now gather in your livestock and all that you have in the field, any man or beast that is found in the field and not brought into the house, the hail shall fall upon them and they will die. Anything that you leave outside will be destroyed. Animal, beast, human, whatever, doesn't matter. Take everything in. He who feared the word of the Lord of Pharaoh's servants drove his servants and his livestock into the houses. So those that listened, the God-fearing Egyptians, or the ones that were scared enough to listen, they brought the animals in, and the animals did not die. But he who did not pay attention to the word of the Lord left his servants and his livestock in the field and didn't make it. The Lord said to Moses, stretch forth your hand heavenward, and hail will be upon the entire land of Egypt, upon man and upon beast, and upon all the vegetation of the field of the land of Egypt. So Moses stretched forth his staff heavenward, and the Lord gave forth thunder and hail and fire. Listen to this. Fire came down to the earth, and the Lord rained down hail upon the land of Egypt. And there was hail and a fire flaming within the hail, very heavy, the likes of which had never been throughout the entire land of Egypt since it had become a nation. So the hail would strike, and the ice would break things, and then the fire inside the ice would burn everything up. This was obviously a miracle, not only one miracle, a plague, but a miracle within a miracle, the fire within the ice, fire and water coexisting. And of course, as you can imagine, there's a lot of Kabbalah on the significance of fire and water in this coalescing in this one plague. The hail struck throughout the entire land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail struck all the vegetation of the field, and it broke all the trees of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail. So Pharaoh sent and summoned Moses and Aaron, said to them, I've sinned this time. The Lord is the righteous one, and I and my people are the guilty ones. Entreat the Lord, pray to God, and let it be enough of God's thunder and hail, and I will let you go, and you shall not continue to stand. And Moses said to him, when I leave the city, I will spread my hands to the Lord, the thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, in order that you know that the land is the Lord's. But you and your servants, I know that you still do not fear the Lord God. Though the flax and barley have been broken, for the barley is in the ear and the flax in the stalk, the wheat and the spelt, however, have not been broken because they ripen late. Moses says, I'm on to you, Pharaoh. I know that you're going to, convince yourself that it's not so bad. There's still some food that hasn't been destroyed. I know you. You can't help yourself, but I will still do my part to end it. But you're not going to do your part. Moses went away from Pharaoh out of the city, and he spread out his hands to the Lord, and the thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain did not come down to the earth. And that means that even the hailstones that were in middle, when Moses prayed, they didn't end up striking. They remained suspended, as the commentaries say, in midair, because once God says no more plague, for the hail to continue to fall would be a violation of that decree. So once it stopped, even the ones suspended in the air stopped, and then just melted themselves and fell harmlessly as rain droplets to the ground. And Pharaoh saw that the rain, and you know the rest of the story here, the last two verses. Pharaoh saw that the rain, the hail, and the thunder had ceased. So no more pressure. So what happens? He continued to sin. And he strengthened his heart and his servants. Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he did not let the children of Israel go out, just as the Lord had spoken through the hand of Moses. This concludes the Torah portion. We had a chance to do the entire Parsha. I hope you were able to follow the narrative. We had 7 out of 10 plagues. What's the moral of the story? Number 1, never trust Pharaoh, but also we have to be careful that we're not, I mentioned this before, and I'm just reiterated, we cannot allow ourselves to become pharaohs, to have all these good intentions and good resolutions when, God forbid, there's pressure, and the moment there's no pressure, we're like, we're done. We have to, if it's right, it's right. If it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. We shouldn't only be doing things out of deals and desperation. So let us be committed to doing the right thing. Let us be committed to doing the noble thing and connecting with God, and knowing who's in control, knowing who's the boss. That's really a major theme of the plagues. All right, I want to wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. Oh, Donna, go ahead.
Yes, I've been thinking about this since Wednesday with the class with the visiting rabbi. So he talked about the first 3 plagues, and he said the first 2 plagues, were there to protect us, and he said the 3rd plague was to teach the Pharaoh to believe in monotheism. And I was confused because I didn't realize that was part of the story, and I also thought that we hadn't become even a people then, so a Jewish yet. So how?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's an interesting observation and question, and according to many commentaries, you're exactly right. That was one of the objective plagues, was to show the Egyptians that there's a higher power in control. In other words, they believed that there were many gods, that they were gods. Pharaoh was a god. Everyone's a god, right? Everyone's a god. Everyone has their piece of the pie. But that there's a higher power, one solitary power that's on top of everything, that's in charge of every being, they didn't believe in. That's why when Moses came to Pharaoh and said, God told me, let my people go, Pharaoh said, I don't know who your God is. Because I know God. I don't know what you're talking about, a God saying, let my people go. God, there are many gods, and I'm also a God, says Pharaoh. And God means what has power. So I have power, and I'm saying these people should be enslaved. And Moses' whole thing was, there's a higher truth. There's a higher moral code. There's a higher ethical code. And Pharaoh says, what are you talking about? There's power and might, and I have it, and you don't. Get out of here. So that's what it means, that the objective was to teach Pharaoh and the Egyptians about God. It's about something higher, an objective, higher truth, moral compass, moral code, etc. That's the higher thing. It's not that everybody should become Jewish, right? That still was, and the Jews even weren't officially Jewish then, as you're pointing out. You're pointing out something very, very important and very accurate. Judaism wasn't yet, formalized, and the Jewish mission wasn't, formalized. And the Jewish mission, even when it was formalized, was never to convert everybody to Judaism. But the idea that there are higher values is something that is, from a Jewish perspective, needing to be followed universally. The 7 Noahide laws are laws that were taught to Adam and to Noah for all of mankind, not just for the Jewish people, but to submit to those 7 basic laws of humanity means to submit to a higher authority. It means that there's something greater than just, I want it, I can have it, I can get it, so I'm going to do it. You still need some sort of deference to something that's higher, some surrender to a higher power. And that's what was being impressed upon the Egyptians, and really through Torah, and it's being published, hopefully, to everybody, a story of God being in control. And, God stepped at some point. God says, all right, I'm showing you this. And now that you know it, I want you to do it. Because if God was swooping in every time, it would be nice, honestly. Sunday, we have our book club, and the book that we're doing is, I have it right here. We Were the Lucky Ones, story about the Holocaust. By the way, this is an unbelievable book. Charna, did you read this? Yeah, it's
yes.
It's an
Page turner. Yeah.
Page turner. I had a lot of time on my hands, whatever, for better or for worse. So I was able to knock this out, close to 500 pages. It would be a challenge for me with all my other stuff to knock out a book of 500 pages. It's an unbelievable book, but it would be very nice. It would have been very nice for 10 plagues to have happened in the late 1930s or early 1940s. It would have been really convenient. So why didn't it happen? I don't have a good answer, but I'll tell you what it says. That God doesn't do this typically. Egypt and the plagues was an aberration. And it was in order to set the expectation that we are then meant to follow, right? There is a moral code. There needs to be a moral code. You cannot harm others and just wield power indiscriminately and immorally and unethically. That's wrong. But for God to keep on doing it means that we're not getting the message, and that's not the way it's supposed to get it, right? And God, I guess, I'm not justifying it, by the way. God, I guess, is allowing us to fail with the hope that we're going to get it right at some point. I'm not justifying at all or rationalizing. I'm just saying that, like the Rebbe once said to somebody who asked, where was God in the Holocaust? And I believe the Rebbe once responded to somebody saying, I hear that question, but my question is, where was man during the Holocaust, right? So we can blame God from today to tomorrow. The question is, where were we? We're meant to get it. And this is where the message is being delivered. The message against oppression, the message against cruelty, against dictatorship, and whatever you want to call it. These Torah portions are the Torah's way of telling us this is wrong. It's not okay. One story, one narrative, one people, but it's a larger message. So does everybody need to become Jewish? No. But a higher value? Absolutely. All right.
What time is the book club?
Book club Sunday is 8 p.m., I believe. Sunday at 8. Yeah, Sunday at 8. It's online. Zoom. Yeah.
You have a link?
I have a link. I can send it to you.
Thank you.
And
Sure,
all
good
the
to
books,
see you
again.
all the books have been very good. All the books.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I can put it on your arm.
They've been pretty
Right.
incredible.
Good to see you again.
Good to
Stay
see you,
well.
Renee. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
And
Happy
good
birthday,
Shabbos.
Reva.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the good words and all the nice messages
Where's your hand?
and all the kind thoughts and prayers over this last week or so. I'll see everybody. Have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll see you soon. Kabbalah and Coffee is on. And Ariella, great to see you. Thanks for that about the book. And we'll see you all very soon. Look for the emails, look for social media, and check the website for upcoming stuff. We have some amazing programming coming up next week. So can't wait to see you all. Take care. Shabbat shalom.